We are now pleased to open the student panel, and they will discuss the role of refugees in bridge building in Israeli societies. I am pleased to invite the moderator, Eden Yidbarek. She is a member of the Israel at Art and a BA student from the Government School in Strategy Studies and Diplomacy. We are now pleased to invite the panel participants. Aaron Weldemerit, alumni of IDC, graduate of Business School, MBA and ASO, Chief Financial Officer. Adam Bashir, alumni of IDC, graduate of Government BA and ASO co-founder. Melat Michael, undergraduate student at the Communication Program and an ASO member. Naka Aligo, undergraduate student at the Government Program and an ASO member. Enoch Turner, graduate student at IDC, CEO of Global Institute for Youth and AIPAC Development Fellow. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the African Student Organization for having me and for getting together this amazing event. I would also like to thank Joey Lowe, of course. As you heard, I'm also a student of Israel at Heart, and we all appreciate all the work that you do, so thank you so much. I'm sure you're all ready to get to know these amazing students, so we're going to start off with a round of introduction. If you could please all tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and we can start. Melat, we can start with you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Melat, Melat Michele. I'm half Ethiopian, half Eritrean. I was born in Ethiopia, and I came to Israel in 2008. I lived in Sudan for 6 years, and it's okay? Okay. So, yeah, I moved with my family to Sudan. I lived there 6 years, and the decision to come to Israel was made by my parents. So yeah, I currently am studying communication. I will be continuing my second year in a month, and that's it, I think.
Amazing. Okay.
Okay. My name is Aaron Waldemurat. Originally, I'm from Eritrea. I came to Israel in October 2010. I studied both my undergrad and postgrad in IDC. I did business administration. I majored in finance. I also did 1 year MBA in Herzliya. Before I came to Israel, I have been to many countries, from Eritrea, I flew to Ethiopia, then Sudan, to Libya, then Egypt, and then to Israel. It's a long journey. Like when I was in Libya, the plan was to, of course, to go to Europe, to cross the Mediterranean, but back in 2010, the situation was not easy. So I had a choice either to go back to Sudan or somewhere else. And then I thought Israel is safer, and then Israel is more humane. So I decided to come to Israel. But at the beginning, Israel was not in the list. Thank you.
Naka.
Okay. Hello, my name is Naka. I'm from South Sudan, and I'm studying here starting my third year, IDC. I'm studying government. Coming to Israel, it was mostly my mother's decision. I came here when I was a little girl. I was born in Egypt. My mom flew from South Sudan to Egypt from Sudan back then, to Egypt because of religious persecution. So there she got married, and me and my siblings were born.
And what do you study?
Government. All right, thank you.
Good evening. I want to say thank you to Joey for the amazing work he does, and Jonathan, my favorite human being, an amazing inspiration leader here. My name is Enoch Turner. I'm doing my master's here at IDC in government. I'm from Rwanda. I just actually came from Rwanda 2 days ago, where I work for the Israeli embassy, when I'm not actually in an official position as an Israeli staff, but I know I'm very interested to talk about the bridge, part of the bridge, what we're going to talk about, but very exciting to be here at IDC.
Hi everyone. I don't know from where I start, but I'm from Darfur. Darfur is part of Sudan, and crossing all the border from Darfur to Egypt and Sudan is very far, and walking, that is part of my journey. I ended up in Israel, alone, without family, at the age of 14, was totally different. Ending to study in Yamin Ort, a religious school in Israel, and come from Muslim family, and went to Christian school, Catholic Christian school, when I am in age of 10, in Al-Fashir, the only Christian school we have. Also, my brother sent me there because of the English. Ending studying IDC Hercelia, it's amazing. And I finished my BA, was not good student, but I'm passionate to study and continue. And thank you, Jonathan. I'm always remembering your talking about the Jewish in diaspora and how Israel coming to be as a country. And that give me a lot of strongness to build myself and going back to build my country in Africa. Thank you.
Okay, so after that round of introduction, to better know the students, we're going to ask individual questions. We're going to start off with Melat. So what are some of the challenges you faced before or after you got accepted to IDC in terms of your legal status here in Israel? And how do you manage to adjust to these challenges?
Okay. So as I mentioned before, I came here in 2008. And before I lived in Sudan for 6 years. So, and Sudan is not my home country, so I grew up here as Israeli. Hebrew is my first language, it's like my mother language. I mean, that's the language that I speak the most. And I grew up in an Israeli school. I went to Scott. I did bat mitzvah. And when I was 16, my family moved back to Ethiopia. So, and then I moved to a boarding school where it's like a Jewish house. So I grew up celebrating Jewish holidays and everything. So I feel Israeli. And when I finished high school, when I turned 18, I had to apply for asylum as every asylum seeker. And that was a problem for me because I'm half Ethiopian and half Eritrean, and Ethiopian are not considered, cannot apply for asylum. So it was really problematic for me to get a status here. So I applied for humanitarian status, that the main claim says that I am Israeli. I grew up as Israeli, and I cannot go back to Ethiopia, a place that I don't know, or Eritrea, a place that I've never been there. And yeah, so that's, and I got the answer a few days ago, it was rejected. I was told that I have to leave this country in a month. But the one thing that is helping me continue and not giving up is studies and all the help of Joy, ASO, and organizations that are here to help and support refugees. It's still hard. I mean, I just finished my first my first year. I couldn't work, so I had to manage every month, you know, renting, food, insurance, and everything. So it was really hard, and it's still like I'm having struggle with this. But thanks to a lot of good people that are supporting me, and me not giving up. Yeah, so that's how I'm managing everything.
Okay, so the next question is for Aaron Waldemheret. So you said you studied both your undergrad and your graduate degree here at IDC. How, compared to the life before studies, how have you been using your degree to shape your future and shape your life?
Okay. First of all, I want to emphasize like being an Eritrean is not a choice to leave my country. Like everybody else, we have a country, we have a land. But I had a good life. I mean, I was working for the government. I went to school. But as far as I'm working for the government, I understood I am working for the notorious dictator to suffer my people. So I decided to leave the country in search of my own freedom and in search of my real of me. When I came to Israel in 2010, I think I came to IDC in March 2011. I believe in education. I know the potential, the desire to learn new things is not for blue-collar job. I know I can make it better, and then I will work in the middle class appropriate job. So I came to IDC, I studied all the way. We had some problems. Someone told not once, not twice, but 3 times. Or someone told every year. We had to fight all the way to the court, the legal procedure. Anat Bondor, she's here. She had to fight everything. We finished short because Anadonda, thank you very much. You really did an amazing job. After I finished my studies, I understood like it's not also easy to get a job because this little paper, the visa thing we have, it says Asura Award. Sometimes I apply for a job online. All they ask you like send CV and then your passport. I attach my visa and then they say, what? Like some of them even, they don't have any clue. Like if people like us exist in Israel, what do you mean? Like with paper, how do you live in Israel? So after several trials, I decided to give up. So I set my own limitations, like with what I have studied, not for here. For sure, I will make use of it one day. For now, I have to put my own limitations. I have to continue my blue-collar job. Like still, I'm doing the job I used to do before, like even when I come to Israel. After all these things, we still do not give up. For everything there is time. One day, we'll make use of it. We know there is a place where we are needed the most. Unfortunately, we are here, we are not needed at all. But hopefully, in the near future, we will be in the places where we are needed the most, where we are happily and proudly to contribute what we have studied in Israel, motherland, Africa. Thank you.
So the next question is for you, Naka. You're from South Sudan, and you were in Israel when South Sudan got its independence, and you were actually deported back, right? So can you tell us a little bit about that difficult time and how you got back to Israel?
Okay, it's a pretty long story, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. When South Sudan got its independent, Israel decided that every South Sudanese is not an asylum seeker anymore. And so most of the South Sudanese who are in Israel were deported. And so was my family and me. And my mom hasn't been in South Sudan for around 25, even more years. And that really brought us back to a country that we don't feel like it's ours, especially the fact that I wasn't even born there, me and my siblings. And we struggled, and afterward we went to Uganda. There was an Israeli organization that started there. It's an organization that started by different Israeli families who had a very strong connection with different South Sudanese children who were deported, and decided that they wanted to help them with their education. And I was part of that organization, and I have here Rita and different people who have helped me in my education in Uganda and helped us still study and not give up on life and not give up on whatever circumstances that was happening with us. But after me being there for 2 years, there was an opportunity for me to come back to Israel because I got accepted to an international school that started in Kfar Yarok. And I got accepted to the school, and through that, they were able to help me get a student visa and come back alone. I came back when I was 17 years old, which was very, very great opportunity. And I finished my high school for 2 years. And then I met Taj, and I met Gabriel, and through that I met Joy Lowe, who really, really saw me and saw my potential and saw how much I was really looking forward to study and get a higher education. And they offered me their support and helped me to study at IDC right now. And yep.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is for Adam. So your situation is a little bit different from everyone on the panel. You have a legal status here in Israel. So what has that been like, being a graduate of IDC, having a legal status, running a successful business, and expanding your business into Africa? What is that like? And also, what opportunities do you think these students on the panel would have if they have gotten the same?
Everything is starting with connection. The connection is very important in the life, and you know that knowledge is power. And that's what I get from a lot of audience that sitting here in front of me. Some of them, they are kids. I take them to school when they are very young. And some of them, they're helping me. And some organizations are standing with me when I am stay in kibbutz. And some families that are adopting me. Actually, they adopted me 2 families. The first one is in kibbutz, and the second one is in Tel Aviv. And I'm very lucky. I'm a very lucky person that I get this an opportunity to be part of an IDC Herzliya. And before that, I studied in Yamin Ort, and then coming back to work with the community as a mediator between the kids that coming from Africa and the Israeli institutions. And that is make me more strong. Meeting my wife in the job, the business that I building, and starting with the connections that when I read in the newspaper in 2008 that thousands of millions of shekels that people who are working here sending home, and the people, and then I need to know, is this true or no? And I start this business because of that newspaper. And when I start the business, I found that the community, especially the foreigner, was benefit more, because I connected between all the financial service, the bank service, and a lot of foreign workers, they are not access to the bank system, especially the asylum seeker. And that's what I'm doing, cleaning their check, giving them chance, explaining how to deal with their worker, and I'm also making money from that one. I'm not afraid, and that is good things. I'm very happy to work with my community, and that's the good things. What Joey doing is investing in the human, investing in the people, in the new generations, and that take me to Africa. Our Africa is, there's a status quo in Africa. The people say that the Africa is not developed in the war, but that is not true. And that's one of the goal of the African people who are in Israel. They have and they working very hard to take this opportunity and collecting the data. There's a lot of companies in Africa, but you don't know. If someone want to make business in Africa, he have to go there. He cannot find the Google sometimes to know how many company working there. And this is our job. This is part of the work that we are trying to do when achieving the education in IDC or in different universities in Israel, to collect this data and investing our Africa information to others. We're encouraging the business people to make business in Africa. I just went to Chad, Uganda, and South Sudan, and I saw the need people who are really intellectual, people who are studying, people who know what the sustainability is, bring the clean water for our people. And that's our dream. Being someone who have status is so much different than other who are, they don't know what to do. And that's my first struggle in Israel. So I'm fighting too much. I know a lot of people here that I fight with them also. And I thinking they are part of that government, even so they are really not. But that is the passion and the curiosity that we need to know who is making the decisions. Sometimes it's very difficult to know because of bureaucracy. And that's leading some of my friends that they don't have that status in Israel because of sometimes because of lack of communication, sometimes the government policy that nobody sees that you are working, but you're still working illegally. Very important for me is to build this bridge between Israel and Africa, and especially Sudan, Chad, Uganda, South Sudan. This is, we are from that part. And it is, it's make me a passion to work. And I thank many people that is standing with me. Joey is helping me. I explained to him about my business, my idea. And, in order to build a business, you need to write almost 85 page for business plan. I never did that one. But how can I do? But we're thinking about the small business that can shaping and people can benefit from it. And that's make me very strong, the people who are helping me, and the IDC will give us the platform. I think I'm the second student here or first, but I'm very glad to be today. We see a lot of students here that it's amazing, and we hope that we continue to do this one in the future. Thank you.
So this question is for Yannick. So your story is completely different from the students on the panel. By looking at them, how do you think they can be an asset, and what are your hopes for them for the future?
That's a good question. So I want to just put something clear. I think the future of Israel depends, it's in Africa. You could look into different ways. You could look economically, you could look politically, or security, in terms of security. Because when you look the raising of anti-Semitic in Europe, and you see very, very anti-Jewish rhetoric in politics in Europe, you already forget that side is gone. 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you won't have allies in Europe. And when you look the trending in the United States, the shooting in synagogues, the rising of, Hamas and Hezbollah support in Latin America, that part also is gone. So the future of this country is in Africa. We have 54 countries that has power to vote at the General Assembly. All these Israel's resolution, they're always going through the United Nations, can be changed by the bridge of these young men and women in this country. The fastest growing economy in the world, they're in Africa. Ethiopia, Senegal, my country, Rwanda, and other countries. There's only $46 million exports from Israeli companies. Africa is the fast growing non-economy by population. So the market is in Africa for Israeli companies. And the best bridge to the companies of Israel going to Africa is this young man you see here. So I always thinking that the society in Israel will have to start looking at these young men and women in this country as opportunities, as partners for the future, not as threat. And all that starts with supporting these young men and women who are here. I want to give you an interesting story. So I was, when I was finishing my college in the United States, I was going to do my master's. And then at that time, the United Nations passed, UNESCO I think, passed a resolution saying that the Jewish people have no connection to Jerusalem. And I was very, very frustrated. And that I really want to do something about it. But what really triggered me to do something about it was because when I was born in Rwanda, when I lost most of my family during the genocide. And when I was growing up, I was very lonely. And I always, had so many questions. So I met an amazing Israeli family, a Jewish family from New York, who helped me to understand how do you cope with losing people. Because this young woman I met, she was a third generation, a grandchild of a Holocaust survivor. Anyway, so a few years later, we became good friends, and they really helped me navigate it, that loss of your family. And what happened, so I want to give back. And I was asking myself, what can I do to make a difference, give back to this community that helped me? I became an ally for Israel because this Jewish family, this Israeli family helped me. A few years ago, I found myself in Israel doing my master's, and there was two things that really changed my life. One was Jonathan made an amazing speech in my orientation about the core of Zionism in this country. And it was very, very inspiring to me. I've never seen something like that before. I mean, I've been coming to Israel a lot, and that was an amazing speech that changed my life. But what happened was my class had to be canceled because my professor was called for duties. Was called for duties. And what happened that it triggered me when I came to my class and half of my class was empty because Israeli students were called to duties. And I asked myself, what can I do to help a country like this? What can I do to help my country like this? And it led me to what I'm doing today, where I moved back home to Rwanda. I take my master's to go back to Rwanda and help establish the new Israeli embassy in Kigali in Rwanda. So what I'm saying is this. These young men who are here in Israel are the future ambassadors of Israel to Africa. And they can do a better job, I will tell you this, they could do a better job than any Israeli ambassador you send to Africa. They speak the local language. They speak the local language, they speak the culture, they understand the relationship between the two countries, they understand Israeli culture and the African culture. So, when we're talking about the future of this country, it is not an option, it is a must to engage and help these young men, because this is the future of this country. And they're your partners. I think that's...
Thank you so much. This is an open question. How has the lack of legal status affected your life? For example, during your education, while you were getting a degree, where it has stopped you or has been an obstacle? Melat or Aaron? The question again?
Yeah.
Okay. How has the lack of legal status affected your life, for example, within your education?
It didn't.
For you?
Yeah. I mean, I started elementary school without a status, and as a refugee, as an asylum seeker, you get a status. You can apply for a status. I mean, the visa that everyone has it when you get to the age of 18. So it's not a problem. I went to elementary school, high school, and also a college before coming here. So it wasn't an obstacle or something. Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, like while I was studying, as someone told us many times, even though we managed to continue my studies, but it has an impact on my educational performances. But the thing is, like, the most challenging thing is, after you finish your studies, you are supposed to practice what you have studied. You spend 4 or 5 years in getting education, and then all of a sudden, you are unable to practice in the real world. After several trials, I decided like to put my own limitations. I say, okay, if I'm unable to do anything, I live inside my box. I create my own box with a lot of limitations, but this is for the time being. I will not locked in there. So I don't have an access to the outside box. I live and think based on that. Hopefully it will change, and then we get the chance, the opportunity to share, to contribute, not only in Africa, even in here. People may not believe in the capacity we have, but we went to one of the best schools in Israel, IDC. We studied with the smartest people from around the world. So we have the potential. We are capable of doing a lot of things. So I think still we have limitations, but hopefully things change for better.
Thank you. So before we finish off, I just want to conclude by what I'm going to take from this whole experience. So I'm a student here as well. I'm a third-year government student. And as students, we tend to complain a lot. It's really hard to stay on top of your studies. It's really hard to stay motivated, to avoid stress, and keep going. And some of these students on the panel, for example, Naka's in my class, Sadiq Kisor in my class, and they honestly, after hearing the stories, I didn't hear this before, and I'm so inspired and I'm so motivated. The fact that they come to school every day with a brave face and they don't complain by itself is enough. And I just want to say how proud I am to be a part of this and how thankful I am that you let me be a part of this. And I guess the feeling of uncertainty, not being able to call where you are home and not being able to go to your home is something that I won't understand, but I do realize how difficult it is, and keep going. Thank you.